Hey guys and ladies, welcome to Zip Gaming Online, and today we're going to maximize the Braton. Yes, the bigger, more meaner, faster shooting, generally what a lot of people consider a direct upgrade to the Mark 1. So, let's get right down to it. Basically, I'm gonna do the same format, and you guys get to actually see this time that there's the Void loadout, there's the Void, heavy caliber loadout, Corpus loadout, and Grineer loadout, and you guys get to actually pretty much click on it to just kind of skip to that part of the video, so it's easier for you to actually, if you don't want to see me doing this and hear me talking all the time, but it's your choice. You get to do that if you want to. Anyway, so let's talk about the Void loadout. This is basically the corrosive blast, and for me personally, this is what I would use for end games. And when we're talking about end games, is when we try to hit as high of a level of enemies as we can, generally in the Void. But even if it's not in the Void, I still prefer this over any other loadouts, just because the corrosive eats the enemy's armor, make it easier to hit, and the blast gives you the chance of a knockdown. It kind of helps you. Generally when you hit high levels, you really want those crowd controls to happen. So why not put it? Anyway, before I go further, we have to talk a little bit about the Braton itself, right? Braton, well, it's a really good gun. However, the thing is, because I did the Mark 1 before, and here's the thing. Whenever I do a video like this, I do not level them like most people. I do not go to, ODD, Orokin Derelict Defense, or I go to Sakura in Pluto, and just level it there. I don't. I actually painstakingly level each of the weapons, put it through every single missions I could do, and pretty much see how it progressed from one format to the next. And although I do have to admit that this is what I personally think is max potential for a Braton, it does use the same mod loadout for Mark 1. However, I'm doing this for you guys, so you guys don't have to do it yourself. It's a pain in the ass, and I'm pretty sure for a lot of you, if I'm talking about a Braton, you wouldn't use it. You wouldn't do it. This is silly, okay? But it's good to actually have a little bit of knowledge of just how far you could actually push, basically, a starter weapon, or well, it's not a starter weapon. It's a new player weapon. So, right now we're gonna be talking about the heavy caliber loadout for the Void. And this is kinda important, guys, because the thing is, with Braton, there's a little bit of trick with the heavy caliber, alright? So, heavy caliber in Braton is not as finicky as the heavy caliber in Mark 1. Mark 1 has the problem of just gigantic accuracy decrease from the heavy caliber. Okay? And as per usual, I do have to say that this is as high as heavy caliber goes for me myself, because I personally couldn't handle higher ranked heavy caliber, because I personally think it's very hard for me to aim, and the last thing I want is my shots to miss. However, with that being said, Braton is actually one of those weapons that barely gets affected by heavy caliber, and you get to see just how accurate this weapon is, and it's amazing. You could actually shoot from pretty damn far and still hit where you wanted to hit with the Braton. So, before I go on a little rant here, I do urge you to try heavy caliber on the Braton, and I know I'm basically, just saying like, I hate it, heavy caliber personally, but on Braton it doesn't take a lot of accuracy loss, so I urge you to try it. And you know, in this case, it's a lot of DPS gain, but not a lot. Like, really, I barely notice any accuracy loss. So the important thing to take away from it is that when you maximize a weapon to a full potential, really, all you want to be looking is not DPS. All you want to be looking is damage output. How many bullets can you land on an enemy, not how much damage each bullet does in a, you know, in a certain time frame. That's silly, okay? But before I go on that, we'll talk about the other loadout. So this one is the Corpus loadout, and this one is the one without the heavy caliber. That's right. And you guys get to just click on the Corpus heavy caliber loadout if you wanted to on the bottom there, and it'll take you straight to the Corpus heavy caliber loadout, and just go ahead and see just how much damage it can do. And always remember though, for a lot of people who really dislike the idea that you'll be missing shots because, you know, you're using heavy caliber, you're losing the accuracy, I do use the Bane of Corpus, the Bane of Grineer as a substitute. And you know, 30% might not sound big, but when you actually do the math, basically whatever shows up on your Arsenal UI, you add another, you add another 30% on top of it. I mean, like, that's an easy way to think about it, and that really helps. Okay, you'd be surprised on just how much damage you can do by that 30%. So with that being said, I do have to actually, you know, basically direct your attention back to the whole idea of damage output. When we're talking about like maximized potential weapons, what is important is damage output. What important is how much your enemy's taking damage, not how much damage you can put out. Because let's face it, it doesn't matter if you're, say, like, you know, you have Twin Viper and you can do a ridiculously high, you know, DPS, but try putting that DPS and actually hitting an enemy with it. That's different. Actually being able to do a ridiculous high damage is easy, but actually landing those, you know, numbers on an enemy, that's a complete different thing. Therefore, we do have to, you know, raise the concern that yes, heavy caliber is not for everybody. Some people can deal with having heavy caliber, but some don't. Therefore, there's this loadout, and to be fair, you can see it actually does a pretty decent damage. Right now, I'm fighting Ambulus, and yeah, it's not too shabby, is it? I mean, like, for a Braton, this is pretty good. But here's the thing. As with most cases, you know, basically I go on Pluto for Grineer and Corpus, and I just pretty much pick as high as a level as I could, and then fight a boss that can take a lot of hits, just so you guys get to see just how much damage I could do with this weapon. And it's important to note as well, with the maximized video, I urge you guys to actually take a look at the accuracy, because the accuracy is important. Again, when we're talking about a maximized build, we want to see how much bullets we can land on the enemy. Alright? So, I think I've covered that, so we'll talk about the Corpus heavy caliber loadout. The Corpus heavy caliber loadout basically just substitutes the Bane of Corpus with a heavy caliber. It's the same thing as the one that we've been talking about previously. However, here's the catch. If I didn't mention earlier, then you probably pressed one of the buttons and you completely missed it. But I will kind of reiterate really quickly. Heavy caliber on Braton is amazing. It's one of those weapons that do not actually suffer a lot of accuracy loss. Therefore, you can see just how much damage I can put out without actually missing my targets. The only way I could miss, in my opinion, for Braton with this heavy caliber is if I actually missed my target. So it's actually my fault and not because of the heavy caliber and the accuracy loss. No, it's not that. It's my fault. So I actually enjoyed it. I really do. And as you can see, I could mow down a lot of enemies using Braton. What a lot of people thought is like, that's a weapon for newbies. Well, if you maximized it, no, not really. And you'd be surprised at how far mods can take a weapon and just push it all the way out there. And it's just so crazy. Like, if you saw the Mark 1 video, you saw just how easy it was for a Mark 1 to actually kill, level 30 plus heavy Grineer, not heavy Grineer, heavy gunner Eximus on, Tower 3 Void mission. So that's pretty impressive. And as you can see, the Braton does pretty much the exact thing, but faster and meaner. However, there's a little problem, and I didn't talk about it before, but if you guys actually watched this far, then I want to impart on you a little knowledge. If you want to know, like, basically the idea is like this. When you actually have Mark 1 and you compare it to Braton, it's easy for people to actually just say, Braton is just a direct upgrade of Mark 1. Why would I need the Mark 1? There's a reason why you might actually want to pick up a Mark 1 compared to a Braton. The same reason why you might want to pick up a Mark 1 compared to a Boltor Prime. And I know that sounds hilarious for a lot of people. However, it's a real fact. On lower levels, it's easier to actually stick with lower tier weapons. The problem comes in when you actually play lower tier survival. It's very easy for you to actually lose a lot of bullets, basically shooting at the body of the enemy that is already dead. But if you're actually using a lower tier weapon, generally speaking, you will actually spend just the right amount of bullet to actually kill the enemy. So with that being said, let's talk about the Grineer loadout. As you can see, on this one, we're not using the heavy caliber, we are using the Bane of Grineer. And again, I do have to stress that yes, it is only 30%. However, the thing is, it's the easy way to look at it is whatever is in your Arsenal UI, just use that number and then plus 30%. That's basically what happens. So it does a pretty decent boost, and again, for a lot of people, they might actually think, what's the importance of actually using a weapon that is very, very much on the lower tier basis? However, the problem comes in when you actually say you want to help your clanmates or whatever, and they're doing a lower tier survival, or you want to farm, say, polymer bundles, stuff like that. Generally, you might actually play in a lower tier areas. And when it comes down to that, a lot of times is you actually use a lower tier weapon to actually compensate for the lower tier enemy. Reason behind this is you don't want to lose a lot of ammo shooting at the body of a dead enemy. Unless you want to put shreds on it, but then again, that's not a maximum potential. We are not talking about DPS, we are talking about damage output. Damage output on a basically on the maximum potential of a weapon is literally the most important part of maximizing anything. It's the damage output, not the damage potential. When you have a lot of ammos, you want every single one of those bullets to land, okay? So, as you guys saw just how quick I killed Kayla, I'm gonna go ahead and show you the heavy caliber loadout, and I want to amaze you at how fast I can kill Kayla. even more so than before. Again, I do feel like I'm reiterating every single time, but I have to do this for people who actually click on the little button on the bottom. Basically, for the heavy caliber on Braton, you do not actually lose a lot of accuracy, so I do urge you guys to actually try it. With that being said, let's take a look at the footage. And as per usual, I do, just go to basically Pluto and find, pretty decent leveled enemies. And, this is as far as it goes with, like, basically Grineer and Corpus anyway. So without actually doing something ridiculous, which is very time consuming, say like play survival for like 60 minutes, this is basically what you'll be facing. And I think this is basically like a very realistic assessment of a maximized weapon. And as you can see, it's pretty damn strong. You could actually kill enemies in one hit with this. And it's pretty mind-boggling at just how easy it is to kill enemies with it. And this is Braton, by the way, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, it's pretty tremendous. And the fact of the matter is, when it comes right down to just how much damage you could do, a maximized potential weapon might not put out the same amount of DPS as a DPS build. However, the thing to take away from all of this is that a maximized potential weapon will serve you long after a max DPS weapon runs out of bullets. And as you can see here with Kayla, yeah, it's less than half a second for me to kill her. It's pretty damn strong. So, with that being said, I hope you guys take away stuff from this video and actually kind of help you guys learn a little bit more about Warframe. I do kind of want you guys to actually talk a little bit about the basically the video itself and what I should do next. I will be doing Braton Prime, and you guys get to pretty much click the video on the right if you want to do that. It'll be out whenever it comes out. And if you want to just go ahead and check the channel, you get to click the bottom on the left. And if you actually want to see the previous video where I talk about the Mark 1 Braton, and I keep talking about it, go click on the bottom. With that being said, I hope that was informative, and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.